what's going on, y'all? T-Bob here.
And Jake as well.
And you're about to watch a little OTB LSU.
We're going to give you all the latest, greatest between LSU football, baseball, women's basketball, softball, and everything in between.
Bottom line, if you want to talk Tigers, keep it locked, subscribe, like it. ESPN's FPI, Football Power Index. This is a predictive system that ESPN has created. It generally really does not take results of the season that it's currently into play. So like when you get into FPI later in the year, sometimes you have like 2 and 3 loss teams, favorite or undefeated teams, and we as humans sit there and say, how's this possible? But whatever, it's what the numbers spit out, right? But it's caused a lot of people to be like, man, I hate FPI, which is fine. I'm not telling you have to like it or hate it. But it is a system that tries to make sense of the madness, math out the madness, if you will. And they have now predicted the outcome of every LSU game in 2024, and it's a bit surprising. The computer's not too hhigh on LSU.
That's not surprising.
As
that formula's never really cared for LSU.
Sir, I think one of the reasons why it's probably not too surprised are computers, or why it's not surprising with this year specifically is you have a ton of question marks. We know that. Now, we believe that we understand through hires that were made, through watching guys that haven't done it before to the level that we're going to expect them to do it. Like, we can look at these elements that an equation cannot and say, oh, well, look, you brought in Blake Baker, Bo Davis, Corey Raymond. Like, that defense is going to be way better. That means nothing to them. You know, the computer doesn't care. It's not going to account for a coordinator change. It's not going to account for Kyron Lacey stepping up from what he has been to a true wide receiver one. And so with that in mind, FPI thinks LSU's going to finish 8-4, which we would all agree that would be a disaster, right?
Oh, yeah.
That would be unacceptable.
Sure. Yes, for sure.
Will Campbell told us as much.
It'd be a step back from what you've done your first 2 years. And again, a place like LSU doesn't care what you lose.
No.
You could lose a Heisman Trophy winner, which you did. 2 first-round receivers, which you did. Just doesn't matter. And we all know that.
And see,
going from 2006 to 2007, we lost 4 first-round picks, 3 on offense.
Yeah.
And I don't remember it being like, hey, we got to take it easy on these guys.
We
lost 4 first-round picks.
But even there, right? Something that the computers are going to ding you for, losing all that production and replacing it with unknowns. Even though we love Nuss. We think Nuss will be very good. The computers don't know how good Nuss will be.
They don't know Nussin.
Yeah. Look at you. You've been doing that a lot lately. I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
5th baby finally got you to wake up and start doing dad jokes, dude. So let's go game by game, what the computer thinks and see what we think. So USC, it gives you a 54.6 chance to win. And you got to remember, guys, a football game is a binary event, right? It is inherently 50-50. So like a great percentage would be around like, if you're into the 60s, that means they kind of view as being significantly better than that other team. So I would say 54% is probably pretty accurate. Given what we know about these two guys. Does it feel a little too close to comfort? Yes, but it feels a bit where my head's been at lately as I think about Miller Moss and actually some of the parallels to Nuss, where Miller Moss is another guy who bided his time, didn't leave, survived, Malachi Nelson coming in, who then had to transfer out. Didn't get named the starter at Boise, by the way. You saw that?
No, yeah, I did.
Looks like Malachi Nelson probably going to be hitting the portal again. But, survived the young 5-star, waited behind Caleb, bided his time. It's a lot like Nuss. And so, yeah, I'm not taking this USC team for granted. So I'd say about 55%. I'd say that makes sense for me.
Yeah, it's what that conversation's been around that game all season long. It's been a little bit more than 50-50 for LSU. It's been a lean for LSU. LSU's a 6.5-point favorite, so somewhere in that range feels like it's about right.
Nichols, a 98.2% chance. Yes, of course. Makes sense.
Yeah.
At South Carolina, 63. So maybe a little lower than I would have thought. But you are in
really.
Williams-Brice.
Yeah, I mean, that's on the road. It's against a team that I don't think anybody really knows what South Carolina is.
Yeah.
You've got Sellers now coming in at quarterback, and their hopes are going to be much healthier on the offensive line. Weapons are going to be a concern for South Carolina than what they have been, but I think it's a great unknown of who they're going to be.
South Carolina, Jake, sneaky video game team. Lenore Sellers has a bit of like Madden 04 Michael Vick in him, right?
Yeah.
Just a massive body, cannon arm, can run around. I'll be interested. I know they like him a lot in Columbia. I'll be, yeah. I was getting Columbus and Columbia confused. I know they like him a lot. I'll be interested to see how he is this year. Versus
Robbie
UCLA.
Ashford there too.
What's that?
Robbie Ashford.
Yeah. Robbie. Too bad he couldn't win the starting job. This leaves a bit to be desired out there on the pitch. Except if he's playing LSU. You got versus UCLA. That's going to give you a 79.8% chance. So the computers hate UCLA. Not hard to imagine.
All right, so
and
you're
you're at
4-0.
home. Yep. So far.
Yeah.
Versus South Alabama, 90.4%.
Okay.
Versus Ole Miss at home, 62%.
They're not taking in the major Applewhite homecoming?
No, they're not. They're not. You just got to avoid being like Oklahoma State and just getting your ass kicked by South Alabama last year. Here's what I want to focus on though, because I want to because like this is going to be relevant when we get to the end of the schedule. So at South Carolina, you have 63%, right? So we see how much home field advantage matters, because if you're at home, they're probably like 70. Versus Ole Miss at home, they give you a 62% chance of winning because you're at home.
Yeah.
Remember that. Anyway, then
all right, so
go ahead.
6-0.
Yeah, I mean, yes.
So that means they've got you going 2-4 here coming up, big boy.
Yes. Although I think there's 3 games in which you are not the favorite, and then I'm guessing they're just saying that on average you're going to lose one of those 50-ish% games. So then at Arkansas, you're a big favorite, 65%, even on the road. At A&M, here we get to our first one where you're on the other side of the equation, 47%. Which has been interesting because A&M's got a lot of the same deficiencies in the computer eyes that LSU doesn't. It doesn't really care that Mike Elko's now the head coach. I guess it cares about their returning production.
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised by that.
Great front seven, big transfers. Yeah.
I'm not surprised that LSU in the FPI would be under 50% in that game. It's on the road.
It's the one that you've circled.
Yeah, it's a top 20 team. It's a team that you haven't beaten their place in a long time. Not surprised at all by that one.
Versus Alabama, this one's just sad. At home, they give you a 36.7% chance of winning. At home. So what does it mean? If you were playing in Tuscaloosa, it'd be like 75% Bama? Pathetic.
That's way off.
At Florida, they give you a 53% chance.
Again, on the road against a team that's talented. Now, what's Florida at that point? I don't do computers, so I don't know. Like I'm a meathead. Like, do they take in like, hey, again, this team is
they're not.
Broken right now.
They're not going to care. They're not going to like take in a projected record into these equations. No, this is a lot about production, returning production. I think past results, home and away. And recruiting, recruiting classes and whatnot. Versus Vanderbilt, 86.3, of course. And this is the one that's shocking to me here. Because, as we said, we can clearly see how much home field advantage matters in all of these things. They have LSU with just a 47.6% chance to win against Oklahoma in Death Valley to close out the season. So if you are someone out there who hates AI and computers, well, screw them, This is just more reason to say no to the robot revolution and our future artificial intelligence overlords, because they don't know what the hell they're talking about, dude. 8-4. Again, that'd be a disaster.
Now,
and they also don't take into account Brian Kelly year 3.
So correct me if I'm wrong, it had LSU losing on the road to A&M, Alabama at home, and Oklahoma at home?
Yes.
So where's the 4th loss?
Well, that's what I was saying. And then I think the computer's saying that you're like those close 50% games, the math is probably not on your side to win every one, right? If you flip a coin 3 times, you're going to get it heads 3 times in a row. So it must be a loss
Hell,
between. You might, exactly. But it must be a loss between the USC, Florida, and
Those are
probably
the
one of those
50-50
games.
ones.
Yeah, because those are probably USC or Florida.
Yeah, I'd have to have somebody come on here and really explain to me the numbers in the Alabama game at home. Last time you played them here, you beat them. And the Oklahoma game, you're at home. You're actually ranked ahead of Oklahoma. Now, I think Oklahoma, if they didn't have maybe the most difficult schedule in the country, would be probably a top 10 team. But again, where are they at that point mentally, physically? How many losses did they have? What are they playing for? The computer might not take that into account. I'm taking that into account. Like as a player, I know what that means. I know if you've got something to fight for, it's going to be a completely different game than if, hey man, we're 7-4. We're trying to get to that break. We're trying to get to the pre-bowl season right now.
Well, that's why on LouisianaSports.net I chose it as my most interesting game, not just because it's crazy to have this big brand of Oklahoma coming Death Valley with holidays in the air but it's because of what could be on the line. And that's maybe where Oklahoma is a bit terrifying, Jake, because there is a world out there where Oklahoma ends up being very good. And this could be a game where both teams still have playoff hopes and sit there on the edge, and a win for either team could put them over the top. So you could get a broken Oklahoma maybe that is disappointed. But if Jackson Arnold comes together, Sawchuck's a beast. Why am I blanking on the linebacker? That's unreal that they asked Harold Perkins about. He was like, who? Stutzman. Stutzman's a dog. They got dogs. And so you could have a broken Oklahoma, but you also could have a very confident Oklahoma that maybe survived the gauntlet, maybe beat Tennessee and Ole Miss and everything. And then you two are battling out for a playoff spot. It's going to be a fascinating game. I am a little surprised there, given their unknowns, that LSU wouldn't be the favorite at home.
Again, a computer is not going to take into account October the 26th at Ole Miss, November the 9th at Missouri, November 23rd, Alabama, November 30th at LSU for Oklahoma. That final 5 games, 4 of them are against potential playoff teams, 3 on the road.
Yeah.
Right? If you take Maine out of that, right? That is mentally and physically exhausting. Mm-hmm. The energy that it takes for an Oklahoma to get up for a trip to Ole Miss, come back home, a trip to Missouri, come back home, Alabama, then go to LSU. That's why I don't have Oklahoma higher. It's not that they're not talented. They returned 15 starters. Jackson Arnold was a top 5 quarterback coming out, and he got some game action. There was some good, there was some bad, but you saw the talent there. No, they're a good squad that's going to be very talented, but there's no team in the country that could handle that schedule and not be a little burned by it.
Yeah.
Even Georgia.
Georgia's got
some of that.
Too.
If Georgia played that
toughest
schedule, Georgia would have, I think, difficulty down the stretch winning all those games.
I think Georgia probably falls into a loss somewhere this year. They basically, they'd have the 6th toughest, I think,
They'll have
in the
one.
country. But yeah, so computers not high, but guys, computers be damned. You know who likes computers? Taylor. Okay?
I would
Get
say,
out of here.
I
like to lift heavy weights and eat red meat and crack boulders. Wow, Jake, what incredible takes.
Those guys, they're just the best.
I think so. And if you think so, again, hit the like button, subscribe, ring the bell so you get notifications when we post every single day here on OTB LSU.